Got it.
All right. Thanks for coming. I'm Kevin Kelly, Darian Jones, Mario Torres is in person at Coastal. We're Orange Coast Title. So here's kind of how I look at niches. Niche farming is really a thing. And what we're finding is more people are willing to talk about the real estate market nowadays, on the phone as well as text and email. Everyone wants to know what their house is worth. It's a good market. But what we also have to start doing is we have to start having more of this concierge kind of feeling, right? Where we're bringing topics to them that have either we're leading them down a path or we're just a consultant. Because as we all locked down, we as a society became much more soundbitey, right? And much more sales centric. We see an upsell when it comes. So what I'm trying to get to is a little less, hey, this is Kevin Kelly with Keller Williams. You want to sell or buy your house? You want to sell your house? It's more, hey, this is Kevin Kelly with Keller Williams. I wanted to chat with you. I noticed that you have a rental property you've had for 15 years. Are you aware there's some conversations that are occurring in Congress about changing 1031s? Is that something I can send you information about? So we're just trying to change the conversation, control the narrative a little more, and then we try to just match up the message and the data. And if we do that, then the nice part is once you understand the key points of this stuff, it's the same conversation and you keep closing the same deal with a different address over and over and over, which from my perspective, the reason I've always stayed in title and didn't go into real estate is because you have that variable of the seller, right? The seller changes on every one of your deals. The great part about title is once we know you don't change, right? We just keep doing deals with you. So your job is much harder and you have to adapt to that. So to keep it from having to be, I've got an engineer on this deal and their goal is to move out of state. And I've got someone who has a baby coming on this deal and they're okay, we just create a niche so that you can just have the same conversation with the same number of people, same number of players, until you've exhausted that. And then we move on to a new niche. So legislation, we're going to start with 1031 because I think it is the greatest untapped thing that's going on right now. So to start out, and I move very quickly, so please at any time stop me. I'd rather you stop me and ask me questions than I bore you with incessant number of facts, okay? So let's just start with an overview of 1031s. There are 5 types. Darren, you want to start with the 5 types?
I thought you were starting with the legislation. Sorry.
Okay, so bottom line, yeah, let's go back and just start with the 5 types. It's easier for everyone to follow things.
No
So bottom line, there are 5 types of exchanges. There are a simultaneous exchange when it's obviously they close escrow on the same day. Very rarely does that happen. Delayed exchanges, which is kind of what we're used to. We could do reverses, which means they're purchasing the replacement property before they've sold the one that they're trying to get out of. This, guys, and we have more information about all this, I would familiarize yourself with reverse exchanges more than any other type right now, because as you know, finding the replacement property is the problem, right? And then making sure that your offer, which is tied to a 1031, is the one they take. So we're seeing a lot of this. They find the replacement property, they close on that, then we close the original. A hybrid, which we're not seeing a lot of right now, and then a build to suit. And this really is for developers and developing companies. So again, we don't see a lot of that. Moving on, the mindset when you're speaking to investors versus the general public. There are 7 important questions that you need to be able to ask. And those are them. And again, these are questions that they supposedly are asking, but these should be closing statements. How do I create greater cash flow for you from your properties? How do I help raise the level of appreciation in your properties? Is depreciation still effective? We'll get to that in the next slide. Stress and time. Okay, guys. Movement comes from pain. Okay, so we don't make big life-changing decisions when everything is comfortable and we feel great about every aspect of our lives. We tend to make changes and big financial decisions when there's pain. And let me tell you, in California currently, with the rent moratorium, the forbearance situation, all of the advantages that the tenant has been given during COVID, which will probably last for a while. There will be some hangover from this. The pain on people that just have 1 or 2 investment properties and they're managing themselves, it's pretty high. They're kind of over that. So just kind of make a note on that one. Like, if you're going to have a conversation with an investor, how has COVID gone for you and your tenants? And has it been stressful? And let them talk, right? It's always about open-ended questions. Number 5, can I reduce my risk factors? Am I holding title the way I want to protect my estate? Again, that's more of a title thing. And how can I minimize or defer the tax burden for myself and my heirs? So if we go to the next slide, I just need you to understand a little bit of depreciation and how depreciation works. And the only reason that you need to know this is there are time frames where they have extinguished the tax advantages on their current investment property. And once, you're always going to get the income, but you may not also get income and tax advantages. And that is a good time for them to do a 1031 or liquidate that property. So I'm just going to go real quickly on residential properties. The depreciation you can take, so basically you can read, but I'm just going to go over it. Depreciation is the loss in value over time based on wear and tear. So the IRS allows owners to take a little bit of a tax loss every year, regardless of what they're making in income. They can still take a loss on the depreciation portion of that. Thus, it reduces an investor's taxable income. On residential property, that's 27 and a half years. On commercial, it's 39. But here's the good news. Statistically, 12 years is the magic number. Most people keep investment properties between 12 and 15 years between 1031s. So what now we get into the matching of the message and the data, right? So this is something where you give me a city, a zip code, a geographic north, south, east, west, send over your existing farm, however you want to do that. And we then overlay it with absentee owners. So people that have an investment property in that geographic area, whatever you've given us, that have had that investment between 10 and 15 years. So what we all learned, at least I did, because Amazon is a constant visitor in my home. It's, they figured out what I need, and so they've made it easy for me to do it. And I feel like the spray and pray thing we used to do, which is we're going to send something to 2,000 people, and the ones that it is applicable to will contact us. Well, now we can control who gets the message. We can filter it 3 different ways so that your response time percentages of reply are naturally going to go up, right? I can assure you, I do not get any do-it-yourself things. I think my profile is very clear on that. I do nothing myself, unfortunately. But everybody has a profile, right? So we've created a profile about the investor who has a single family residence investment that has had that property for 10 to 15 years. So they have maxed out on the front end of their depreciation, which is the most advantageous to them. From 12 years to 27 and a half years, the depreciation kind of drops and it's not as advantageous. So basically I'm saying 10 to 15 years is your sweet spot. So moving on from there, we basically now,
Kev,
yes.
I have a question, and I want to remind everyone also, if you have questions, put your hand up or put it in the chat, open your mic so that there can be some interaction. But just this here that where you say, oops, I lost the screen.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, you weren't in my head. You didn't know I was going to read that, but you talked about the 12 years. So
Yeah.
as a farming tool or support, so would we say to you, okay, could you find me properties that are within this time frame, and you would focus on finding people that have been in their home X amount of years, so we know that they would be a good one to market to?
That's exactly what I'm saying. It is we take the message, whatever your message is, in this case, it's on 1031s for investors, and we match up the sweet spot. So these people have had an investment for 12 years. That is the average. Most people do a 1031. So they're kind of ready for that conversation. So now it leads me, and that's just all the kind of background on 1031s. Again, we can send all these pieces to you. You can peruse them at your leisure, send them out to people, but it's just kind of bring everybody up to the same page. Now we're going to talk about what they're proposing to do with 1031s and how that creates a sense of urgency, right? So we figured out the pain. Now we just need to figure out the urgency so that they do it tomorrow. So, Darian, this is from, I've used the same 1031 guy for a lot of years. I'm going to say, if he's old enough, maybe all 3 decades, but pretty close. Phil Atwan is just the greatest. And basically, as part of this bigger bill, I was talking to Deborah about this before we got on. As part of this bigger bill, right, that is this whole $1 trillion package about lots of things, there are lots of these things presented. That is on a federal level. The state of California has amazing lobbyists. The real estate community in Southern California has amazing lobbyists. So when we read these things, there may be some adjustments that are going to be made for some high income states. We're considered one of those. But here's a conversation that you can have. Okay, the proposal, as you can see in the first page, is they are going to cap the amount you can transfer during a 1031 at $500,000. So if you can imagine with our sales prices, that ain't going to work in our market, right? It works across the nation. It works in Detroit. It works in Pittsburgh. It works in Iowa, but $500,000 could probably buy you 3 houses. The reality is our people with our numbers need to move more money, and that needs to happen before next year. Now if this passes. So your message is, hey, this is Kevin Kelly with Keller Williams. I wanted to reach out because I've seen you have a couple investment properties, or this one, whatever you choose to say. And there's some talk with the new tax bill of capping your ability to take more than $500,000 into your next exchange. have you thought about doing an exchange now? Have you thought about diversifying your portfolio to other states where $500,000 can get you more? There it is. That's your whole message. I found that investors will talk to you as long as, you are bringing substantive conversations to the table. I think this is substantive. You're not saying it's going to happen, but I think we all have realized during COVID to expect the unexpected, right? So people aren't as willing to chance it a year from now, I don't think, as they were for the last couple decades. So that kind of sets up what we're trying to do. So now you have this information, you give us exactly the parameters of whatever geographic area you're looking at. We can do it by city, we can do it by zip code. We have my office manager who runs my branch with my, my team and all that, has been with me 27 years. So she can do data like nobody's business. The great news is anything that is on this screen can be branded for any of you. You just send it over to us. We take out whatever information. It may be about us sometimes. It may be from Phil Atwan, the exchange guy. All that stuff comes out. You can add or subtract some phrases, put your logo in. We send it to you in a PDF. You can do whatever you'd like with it. You can disseminate it out to people. The other thing, and this has become much more advantageous, I believe. We have the ability now for 6 cents a record to get phone numbers, cell phone numbers. So if you give me 90805, that's a Long Beach zip code, I want everybody that has an investment property that they've had from 10 to 15 years. I only want single family, or I only want units, whatever your deal is, right? We can dial it in any way you want. We come up with, and Dee Dee in my office says to me, okay, Kev, we came up with at 90805, we came up with 1,247 matches. We send that information to the data service, and they do the overlay and get back to us. And in most cases, of the 1,600, they're going to have about 1,400 emails. You pay one time, 6 cents a piece. They're yours forever. Now you have every investor in that zip code's phone number. For another 9 cents, you can get their email address. So even if you do not have the money, the time, or the inclination to do mailers, because again, mailers, a little more labor intensive, there's printing costs, there's mailing costs, there's all that stuff. But for 15 cents per person, you can get an email and a phone number. So I'm a proponent of that, right? I always think, try the more affordable option first. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But the good news is you're calling them with a specific topic. And if they want information, here is printed material that's branded for you that you can send them as a follow-up. So
Kevin,
basically, that's kind of my pitch. So hit it.
Kevin, I had a question for you.
Emilio.
This is Emilio.
Nice to
How are
see
you?
Nice talking to you, dude. Thanks.
Yeah, appreciate you always holding these great calls. So quick question for you. Go back to that $500,000. So that is the capital gain, or is that the purchase price?
No, so normally, if you sold a $3 million building and you had $2.5 million, you're rolling in, you roll 2.5 mil into the new building. In this case, they want to cap the $500,000 that you can move. So it really knocks multifamily out. It knocks all commercial and warehouses out. You're really just talking about single family residences that, let's look at, okay, in LA County, during COVID, so 17 months, the average property appreciated $142,000. Now that number is way low for Calabasas, for the West Side. I mean, that doesn't even play a role, right? So that becomes problematic, which is why we're not waiting for people who have maxed out their depreciation for 30 years because their equity situation is going to be deadly, right? We're talking to people that maybe they've only had their investment property for 5 years, but they've made 400K on it. Got to do it now, right? And what I like about this scenario is like I said, there's a need and there's an urgency. And those are the two things that motivate people to move and do stuff. Like my sister just did. And, at the time I was like, oh yeah, let me know how it goes. They sold this kind of piece of poo condo in Huntington Beach, and they bought 3 houses in Bellingham, Washington, and they're killing it. The rents aren't that different, and they paid cash. And I think, when you look at people in Southern California who have been landlords during COVID, there's been a lot more anxiety for them than there ever has been, right? They got to deal with the COVID restrictions, and they can't evict people, and all of the variables. So in talking to my buddies that have investment properties, they're kind of like, yeah, maybe it's time to buy 3 houses in Phoenix. And, Southern California ain't where, the money's going to be made now. And so we need to lead them to that. And you guys get paid on the sales here, and you get paid on the referrals there. So it seems like, kind of, because I think the average agent, from how my buddies are approached by real estate agents, seems to be, you're never going to get more for that investment property than you are right now. So you need to sell it. They're not figuring out their tax situation. They're not asking them what other states they'd be interested in. They're not really being a consultant. They're being a little too transparent, I guess is the word, right? I want your money. A little too transparent. I think we got to come at it with, I'm trying to be proactive. I'm trying to give you a heads up. This may or may not pass in its current form. But if you look at the generational wealth proposals in California, it hasn't gone our way.
Evan, I have a couple questions.
Yes.
One, why would something of this sort be proposed? I mean, who will benefit from it? And secondly, I saw on that last slide that Darian had that there was a link there that it looks like we could have homeowners reach out. Can you touch on that as well, please?
Absolutely. So this is part of the mysterious bajillion-dollar plan, the Biden plan. So there are so many portions of this, and these are the proposals. And now they're starting to break them down and figure out if this is doable, if it's going to be only doable regionally, not federally. And this is not something that will benefit us. So as it is highlighted, here's what your client may do to take action. Even if you don't want to have a conversation with the investor, and I don't know why you wouldn't, but sometimes, you just practice until you feel comfortable. If you did nothing else but send that link to every person that's an investor, regardless in your zip code or city or farm, something I thought you should know about, please reach out for more information. I think that call to action is going to lead to conversations. Because taxation right now is everyone's concern, to my knowledge.
I think the other thing, that the $500,000 cap, like you said, it's 1031s are rental to rental. So
Right.
If I have a rental, like you said, a duplex or even a condo in Southern California, in any of our market centers, that, all of us are on here for, you're going to be lucky to have something, less than 500,000. So now
You're exactly right.
you really can't roll it into something. So there's no advantage for Southern California homeowners. My
You're exactly
Pennsylvania
right.
house, I could do that in Pennsylvania because it's only worth probably 250.
That was my
So
point. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I think everybody that's a homeowner should hit that. And even if not, any of us could fill that out. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You could send it out as a link and have everybody in your office sign it and send it in. That would be helpful. Obviously, CAR, NAR, all of them are all over this. But again, we are considered the real estate industry. Nobody cries for us. Okay. So, and certainly not on a federal level when you're trying to help disadvantaged people. And where does that money come from? It comes from generational wealth taxation. The current way of thinking, and I'm not a political pundit, so I don't really, I have no opinion on this. I mean, obviously I have opinions, but they're not gonna be shared. But the point is, the federal government and the state are looking at generational wealth as a really nice taxable event, like the fact that they just did the thing where you used to be able to deed properties to your kids, right? Now the property can't be worth more than $1 million, and you had to have it as your primary residence, and the child you gifted to has to live in it as their primary residence. Okay, so there's all these caveats that they're putting in to try to tax generational wealth, because the catchphrase or the sound bite is, that's your dad's money, that's not your money, you're not entitled to that money, and we're going to tax you on that. Okay, that's the mindset. So, and again, we have different mindsets every time we have a new administration, but under the current administration, this is the mindset, and so we got to deal with what we're dealing with. So have I lost anyone? Are we all kind of on the same page so far, and everybody's good? Okay.
And I got everybody's emails as well. So I will be sending them all of the 1031 exchange marketing pieces we have that can be customized to you should you want that, as well as I will include the little blurb from Phil Atwan that talks about the proposed changes, what's going on, that has the link for you guys as well. So I'll do an all-encompass little email to everybody that provided the email. Also send it to Deborah as well. So you guys will have that also.
And what I like about this is we're in a really nice sweet spot here through the end of the year, right? If you just reach out to investment properties about this potential change, if you just, Emilio and I had a great conversation about a week ago about the ADU situation. If you have a farm that ADUs would be applicable to, that's your niche for the next 3 months, guys. And we have those marketing pieces. So my way of thinking, and I want, hopefully when you log off, you just kind of think about this. Our natural inclination every time there's change is to see the negative. Every time there's a change, there is a great opportunity for us. Every single time. So all we have to do is take back the narrative and make sure we put that out so that they see the advantages for them, and also what potential pratfalls there may be if they choose to ignore our message. And that's kind of our job, right? And at its simplest, that's it. I don't have a lot of please. Title reps are great. We're all title reps. All of us are nice people, or they wouldn't hire us. Okay. If we're not title reps, we would be the perfect host and hostesses at restaurants, right? We're nice to everybody. But the reason you choose people is hopefully they either make you look at your business a little differently, and they help expedite things. Our rule, and it is our rule, Darian Portman, she's been working with me for 16 years, and she gets to hear this all the time. All we want is everybody to have forward motion every day. Do one thing that you're one step closer to a deal. And I believe having a specific message with backup in writing, because people, it's ironic. They believe you, but if they see it in print, suddenly, you have validity, right? So always have the backup so that when they say, do you have more information about that? Yep, I can send it right over. It's branded for you. And then you're not wasting your time. You're not wasting your money. You're not spraying and praying. You don't have a lot of unmailed calendars or something in your garage. Like 15 cents per person. You got their email and phone number forever. We will do all the data mining. We are weird when you call us or text or email, however you like to communicate. We're going to be a little harsh. Like, we're going to be like, okay, you gave me one parameter. We need 3. Okay, they're investors. How long have they had the house? What type of property? Right now, if you have a 1-bathroom rental, it should be sold. Nobody's ever going to get more money for a 1-bedroom rental than they are right now. I'm talking like a 2 or 3 bedroom with 1 bath. The ADU situation, if you have big lots and relatively smaller houses on those lots, and the neighborhood is older, like Long Beach is a really good candidate for this, because you got a lot of stuff over the years that were grandfathered in, and now it's really simple to do that. And just remember, ADUs is a whole different class, but on the ADU thing, they've got a sweet spot for the next 4 years where the city can't stop them. They don't have to bring it up to code. There's so many cool things if you're going to do an ADU right now. So kind of in the next 4 years, keep that in mind. And then I'm not going to cover all the other topics because, again, it's a very wide net, but hopefully this is a good thing for you guys. And never be weird. Give us as many zip codes or cities or whatever, because Dee Dee runs all those numbers and then she emails you. She's like, there's 1,742. And you're like, that's too many. Okay, so let's add another caveat. Let's add lots that are 6,500 or more. Let's do, there's all the variables we can do. 1 story. There's so many things. But just for you to keep in your head, never reach out to someone unless you filtered them or vetted them 3 ways. Type of property, time in the property and equity position, and what their location is are the most common. But we can do just equity position. We can do just people who have a certain type of loan. We can do just, there's so many. The fields are endless. So that's my message, guys. If anybody has questions or comments, or we are here to help you. And we're, unfortunately, we couldn't be at Calabasas yesterday, but we will be kind of coming up there more, and we're adding someone to the group so that there will be someone on a regular basis. Calabasas, we'll still be doing our stuff like this. West Side, we will see you next Wednesday. That'll be kind of fun. And let us know what you need. Title's boring unless you tell us what to do. And then it's fun for us because then we get to come up with marketing pieces and stuff like that. So it's a little more fun.
I have another question since everybody else wants to be quiet. I'm going to ask questions on behalf of others. One of the agents in the office, she'd come to me, she's has an investor, and the investor is a friend as well, but they don't want to get into a bidding war. They know they're a realtor in another area. So we're putting together a letter that our agent can send out to a community. And I suggested she go onto the MLS and look for properties that have been on the market at least 30 days or more. And that would tell us that they may be a little overpriced. So what other suggestions that, and maybe have some flexibility or just stubbornness when one doesn't know, but what other suggestions might you have? They're looking in the Long Beach area. They can actually go up to about $1.2 million. which
Okay.
is really quite nice, for an investor. But they want to be able to, put something time into it, maybe flip it or use it as an Airbnb. So
So,
thoughts, suggestions that I can take back to this
and we
gal.
can do this for every single buyer one. Trust me. You give us their wish list. Okay, they want a 3 and 2, this zip code, square footage between here and here, lot size between here and here. So here's the 3 things we can do. 1, we can just give you phone numbers and you can dial for dollars. That has been working really well. Shockingly, I would never have said this in my entire career, that deals were being put together based on, I have a buyer that's ready to go. If you want a one-party show, they want to buy your house. Okay, in the past, the population, the general public realized that it was a hook. It's not a hook now. They realize that people could write on 9 houses and never get one. So I always say that whatever your buyer need is, give us the wish list and Dee Dee will dial that in and give you exact matches of properties. And we tend to go, we tend to put people in an equity heavy position. So if you don't give us equity position, we're going to do between 9 and 15 years. Because in Southern California, they've made a good chunk of change at that point. And when you're talking to them and reaching out, you can literally also bring up the transferring of their tax basis to their new house, because that changed and that's advantageous to them now. So always give us your wish lists. We can give you actually emails, we can give you phone numbers. Dee Dee will mail merge for you as long as the total is less than 200. The reason for that is we're not a printer. I don't want her to be like making soccer balls in India all day doing mail merges, right? So we kind of wanted to set a limit, and 200 is the number. And then we just send you the letters and they're all addressed. And it says, dear Mr. Kelly, regarding your property at 232 7th Street, I have a buyer that's ready to go. No open houses, no hassle. Call me. Then you just put them in an envelope and you mail them. So whether it's the investor, whether it's a buyer who's frustrated, doesn't hurt. You either pay 6 cents a record and pick up the phone, or you mail it and you see what response is. And it's become really popular and it's really working, actually. So I'm pleased. Any
Thank you.
other question?
I just shared Darian's info with Eileen Arancibia. So I've asked her to give you a call to get some more guidance on that.
And again, we are all, there's Mario, there's me, there's Darian, there's Dee Dee. There will be another edition. And we love to do this. I'd love to talk to you one-on-one. We can do it on any format that you'd like. And that's kind of my pitch. That's our thing. If there are no more questions, we got you out in 45, which is always my goal. And thank you for taking your time. I appreciate it very, very much. And we just want to help you.
Darian, Mario, Kevin, all of the OCT, we are so grateful for you and all that you do for our agents. For those of you in the coastal office, just a reminder, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, we have the calls where we provide you leads. So come in and enjoy. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Deborah Bell at the Long Beach office, or reach out to any one of these 3 title guys. They are
well, and just remember, guys, in the other offices, cold calling lists. I can send you cold calling lists, no problem. Like, it's just we do it personally at Coastal, but we can do that anytime you want. All right. Thank you all very, very much. We appreciate your time. Have a great Thursday.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Thanks.